boss used to tell me, he said, he's a black dude. He owns multiple companies. He has like a $20 million house next to Chris Brown. And you would think that he wasn't the richest on the block, but he definitely is, right? And he always used to tell me, Terell, if you just read, you will find out more information than what you will ever do anywhere else in the world. I promise you. They're going to hide that information, write in a book, because they know that you're not going to read it. So I'm telling you what to do. Just read. So real quick, my name is Terell. I own Next Step Credit Repair in Virginia Beach. I've been in credit repair for roughly like 4 years now. I got into credit repair because I paid this girl to fix my credit, and she didn't, right? She was the third person I had paid, so it was super frustrating at that point, right? So if you're paying somebody your hard-earned money and you're looking for, some type of result or goal out of it and you don't get it, it just kind of becomes frustrating. Me, I'm a person that generally is going to do most stuff himself, right? So paying somebody else to do it was something new to me. And really, she just kind of pissed me off with the whole lack of communication. She didn't really talk to me. Everything was through a text message. Every time I tried to call, she would get mad. And ultimately, I was with her for like 12 and a half months. I came into it, my credit score was like a 576. I left out, my credit score was like a 445. And so it was just, I had more collections than when I started, more charge-offs than when I started. She didn't do anything. And just a bunch of stuff ended up like popping up on my credit report. And so I just kind of took matters into my own hands. So that's kind of how I ended up in credit repair, just joining different groups and ended up in the credit repair cloud group. So that's my start and that's my story.
During your process, during your time of like doing this, I'm pretty sure you discovered ways to fix credit different ways and things
Yeah,
of that nature. Like, so can you tell me, like, I know it's like, trying and trying, but like your
absolutely.
process of getting deletions, because when you told me how many deletions you got, I was like, whoo, oh yeah, you've
Yeah,
been
so
putting in that work.
So for me, it's always trial error tracking, right? Trial error tracking. So one of the things you
You
have
said
to
trial
understand,
error. You said trial error.
error tracking, right?
So you
So
try
those, you
from
got to track everything. The only way that we can discover a repeatable process to help people is if we track the data and what we did before, right? So if I had 10 medical bills, right, and I
mhm.
used, let's say, a HIPAA letter and an FDCPA letter, right, and that got me 10 removals, right, I'm not going to go do something else next time I see 10 medical bills. I'm going to do the exact same thing that got me the result in the first place, right? But what people will do is, everybody likes shiny new toys, right? You get a new car, you like to test drive it out, you like to run it into the
Mhm.
ground, whatever, right? That's the same way, credit repair is, right? People will change their method just because they see something new out there versus going, okay, I'm only going to try that on something that I was unsuccessful with versus trying it on something that you were already successful with. So my method is very simple. It's to read, rinse, wash, and repeat, right? If you read the credit report, right, it'll tell you more of what you need to do than anything else, right? Take your finger, buy a credit report, and just go across it like this. And you can see everything that's wrong, right? But key is top secret, right? You want to know a hack is that you have to buy the damn report, right? You can't go to annualfreecreditreport.com, right, and get you a free credit report and think that's the one that's going to change everything for you. It's not, right? You can't go to Credit Karma and think that's the one that's going to change you. You can't even go to Experian and think that that's the credit report that's going to change you. Neither will the credit report on my FICO. You need a credit report with data points, right? That lines stuff up. That's the only way you can go through a credit report actively and go, okay, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong, that wrong. So I always tell people, right? My boss used to tell me, he said, he's a black dude. He owns multiple companies. He has like a $20 million house next to Chris Brown. And you would think that he wasn't the richest on the block, but he definitely is, right? And he always tell me, Terrell, if you just read, you will find out more information than what you will ever do anywhere else in the world. I promise you. They're going to hide that information, write in a book because they know that you're not going to read it. So I'm telling you what to do. Just read. So I've read the FCRA probably 111 times. And it's a lot of fucking pages. 171 pages total. And I've read it a couple hundred times and I'm still learning new stuff every day. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that you have to read. And when you read, you learn stuff, right? Even you can read a book once and you see people read a book the second time, they go, oh, that was crazy. I didn't even see that the first. Because when you're reading, sometimes we get zoned out, we get stopped, we got kids, we got family. So you might be reading and somebody might stop you or whatever the case may be. So then you might miss something. You know what I mean? So always read, and buy your credit reports. So that's the key. Like, that's the secret method. Buy your credit reports and fucking read. I promise you, you'll never go wrong.
So after you read 100 times, what did you?
I learned that you have to separate stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people always put everything on one letter, right? I don't do that. That's where you go wrong. You have to learn how to separate everything. Okay. So I separate my collections from my charge-offs, from my FCRA violations, from my inquiries, from my bankruptcies, from my repossessions. So in 1 month, somebody might get 46 letters from me, right? Because everything is separated because I want to maximize my results, right? Woo. The eOscar system is always scanning in your letters, right? If you have 50 things on one letter, how much of it do you really think the automated system is investigating? Maybe 15, 20% of it. If you separated them based on categories, right, and you didn't put them all together, and you sent separate letters, right, a couple days apart, how much do you think is getting investigated now?
100%.
100%. Because you've now, right, broken it up into different parts. So that way the automated system can understand exactly what you're saying and it understands exactly what it's reading, right? Because remember, a person isn't getting your letters until 120 days. So after you sent 4 rounds, nobody's getting your letters, right? Outside of that, the computer's just scanning it. Whoop, 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 just like that. That's all that's happening. Right? It doesn't get mailed out into a foreign country where somebody who doesn't even speak English is reading it. Keep in mind, right? So they might not even know what the fuck you're saying or what you mean. So it's always important that you separate it. Those first 90 something days in credit repair, who they the most important you ever seen?
Oh man. Dave, you got anything on that?
No, go ahead, because I already know you want to ask.
Okay. All right. Okay, so how do you tell the clients about this stuff, or like how do you manage expectations on that? Because they'll come to you and they'll say, "Hey, I ain't gonna say dispute everything." Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think in my head while I'm talking.
I know what you're saying, right? So listen, let me tell you this. This is how you tell somebody what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, right? Number one is expectation-wise, they got to understand what length of time looks like, right? That's my biggest thing with clients is understanding what length of time looks like. I take the first delinquency I can find on their credit report. So let's say it's 2017, they got 2 delinquencies. 2018, they got 3 more. 2019, they got 2 more. 2020, they got 5 more. 2021, they got 6 more. 2022, they got 5 more. 2023, they got 2 more. That's 33 delinquencies, though. Right? So you've been living with bad credit since 2017. Right? So from 2017 to 2023 is what, 6 years?
Yep.
Right? So understand that, hey, listen, you didn't get into this mess overnight. You've been messing this thing up for 6 years. Right? If it takes me, right, and you should always count your average too. We'll talk about that a little later. If it takes me 18 months to get you out of this, 6 years. Dave, you got to do the math on that as my client. I got you out of it in 18 months. You were in it for 6 years. I want you to think about that before you get started with my program, right? That's the difference, right? And you have to explain that part to them, is that you're not going to get out of this in a month or two. If we do, great. If I send everything off and it comes back and it's wiped clean, like some of the clients that's on the reviews or some of the people you see, like Miss Holly the other day, we finished up 27 days. Done. Finished. Right? If that happens to you, great, but understand that was luck. Nothing else. Right?
Man.
That's a unicorn. There's one out of
Yeah, like
Grand Slam. One out of
that was luck, right? Credit repair is a process. You're going to have to go through that process. You think a creditor just wants to delete $14,000 worth of debt, repossession off of your credit just because you say so? No. They're going to make you work, fight, tooth and nail for that deletion. And that means that can take some months. That can take, a lot of follow-ups. That can take a lot of phone calls. That can take a lot of phone calls into the credit bureaus. That can take a lot of phone calls into the original creditor, the collection agency, secondary databases. That can take emails. Like, that can take CFPB complaints. That can take FTC complaints. Like, I don't, in understanding that each one of those times takes a whole 30 to 45 business days, which is like 60 real days.
Man. So I think you're speaking to the complexity of credit repair, and is why your homeboy can't do it as well as a reputable company. You know what I'm saying? Like to get a brick and mortar to actually do this for years and years takes actual strategy. And I think what happened is a lot of people made promises that they couldn't keep, so now it's kind of got a black eye for the community. So I'm glad you actually speaking on it, because when I was talking to you, you was actually, when we talked to you the first time, it was actually the most complex, but like system oriented dispute process. And I was like, yeah, we do all that, but we never really thought to even say it to people, because I'm
Right.
like, man, they're not gonna understand. They don't care. They want the results in 30 days. So
They still don't. Right. I'm talking to a guy day before yesterday, Mr. Rhodes, and he's calling me. He's like, "Hey Terrell, I want to cancel." I said, "Okay, cool. I can get you closed out. If you don't mind me asking why." He said, "Cause I don't know what's happening." I said, "Oh," I said, you didn't see those removals come off of your credit?" He goes, "Yeah, no, I seen them, but that is, I wasn't done in a month." I said, "Well, who told you was going to be done in a month?" He said, "Well, nobody told me. That was just, my expectation." I said, "Well, I'm going to ask you one more time. Who told you was going to be done in a month? Because when you sat in my chair, I told you what?" He said, "Well, you told me 18, 24 months." I said, "Okay, how many months it's been?" He said, 2. I said, "Okay, and how's that score doing?" He said, "Since 6, so it's all right." I said, "So you want to cancel the service, right? Because you're not done in a month, yet your credit score is up 100 points. You've had 10 removals for $7,000. I said, "Listen, man, I respect you. I think you're a nice person, but you're being real dumb right now.
yeah.
I respect you. I think you're a good person, but you're being real dumb right now." And his mom was in the background. She said, "You tell him, Terrell." And, uh, some
Hey man.
people just, no matter if you tell them or not, they still don't get it, right? And that's okay, right? It's okay. You're going to have those people, and you can't get caught up in those people. I always try to tell, people that I mentor, people I talk to, focus on the people who really want your help, right? Not the people who don't want to listen to nothing that you say, right? They don't want to do anything. He's like, "I'm a truck driver. I can't be reading no emails, reading no text messages, this, that, and the third." I said, "Listen, man, that's your business. I told you what to expect before we started. If you don't want to read your phone, your text messages, your emails, you don't want to log into your client portal, of course you're not going to know what's happening, right? But I'm not calling you every month. You can forget about that. It's not happening. I have too many clients and I have a personal life. I'm not asking you to uproot yours to call me every month. I called you 2 weeks ago. You didn't answer. Right? So, because I understand that I work 9 to 5 and most people work 9 to 5 too. Right? So I might be calling them at a time where they're at work. So I don't take it personal. Right? They'll get back with me, hopefully. Right? Or eventually they'll call me and say they don't know what's going on, which is not my fault. It's their fault. Right? My boss used to always say, "Terrell, I don't fire you, you fire yourself." Right?
Ooh.
There is nothing that I can do to make you either do something or not do something. Because whatever you tell yourself, you're right. So if you don't want to do it, you ain't going to do it. And then there's
Man.
that.
That's crazy. All right, Dave, go ahead with the next question. I don't
Whew.
know.
So, can you explain your process? Because I think the biggest one for repossessions.
Okay, so I think, you know, people got to understand when you get a repossession on your credit report, right? There's only two types. There's voluntary and involuntary. When they report on your credit profile, they're not different. Most people think, oh, I gave the car back, so it's different. They never came and took it. I gave it back. No, it's still an RP, right? So the first thing that you're looking at whenever you are searching out a repossession on your credit report is you want to look at balances, right? You want to look at balances and you want to know whether, you should always ask your client this, or, they should ask themselves this, whether they sold that car or not, right? Because if they reported an incorrect balance, right, that balance should have changed after they sold that car, right? Because most times they're not charging it off until after they sell the car, right?
Mm.
Because they're charging off the balance after the sale of the vehicle. But in most cases, they don't go back and update the balance on the credit report, right? That's what we call an error or an inaccuracy. And you can get a removal out of that, right? Just going after the balance. Let's say you send off your first round, incorrect balance, and you don't get a removal. Okay, so what? Do it again, right? Because if that's the error or that's the inaccuracy, and you have the charge off information and the bill of sale, if you don't, request it from the company so you can see, right? You have the supporting documentation that you need to get a removal. Just resend the damn thing again. People give up on their process too early, right? I've had to send a bankruptcy removal with supporting documentation 27 times.
Dang.
But other people would have quit and said, but I'm like, no, I know that I'm right, right? I just have to figure out a way to get this to a person, right? So I'm just going to keep resending it until it makes it there. If I got, my LexisNexis letter with the bankruptcy, I got the bankruptcy court letter, I got the county of deeds letter, I got the PACER records. I'm putting all that together and I'm sending it off, right? And I'm putting in my letter that I've attached supporting documentation. I'm sending that out certified. I'm taking that little white strip off the certified mail, taping it to my letter at the top so they know this is not a game. I'm not putting it on the envelope. I'm taping it to the inside of the letter, right? And I'm uploading that, scanning it back and uploading that to the CFPB, and I'm just waiting to hit submit just in case.
Dang. That was really good. Like, I don't think the average person is gonna catch like how much tactic actually went into what you were saying, but that was amazing. Actually,
If you read your credit report and it's wrong, don't give up on your process. Just continue with the same process. You will get the result that you're looking for. It might take a month, it might take 5, it might take 7, it might take 10, right? But remember, the bankruptcy gonna be up there for 10 years, right? So if it takes you 2, you won. You didn't lose, you won. If the repo gonna be up there for 10 years, right? If you got it off in 3 years, you won. You got it off 7 years earlier than what it would have fallen off otherwise.
yeah, you got it off 2 kids too soon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so don't give up on your process. Continue with your process if you know that you are right, right? Understand that the credit bureau is a database, is not people. That's why, they're scanning, and that's why people work in different countries. That's why you can never get a supervisor on the phone, because it's all representatives in different places, right? They don't work here in America, right? You call, you get, somebody, hello, Dave, this is Sharon. And her real name's not Sharon anyway, but that's the name they make up, right? And how can I help you? No, I need you to verify your account with me today. I send link, right? They're in a different country. And you call somebody else, they're like, this is Mohammed. How can I help you, Dave? Right? So understand that the system is what you need to work for you, right? And if you can get it to people, great, right? But continue your same process so you can get yourself a result.